Hi, everyone. Well, thanks for being here. I know it's the end of a very hot day, and I'm very glad the aircon is working now. And if you're here, I'm really appreciate it. So, just short on who am I? I've been around for a while. I've founded some stuff. I tried a bunch of stuff, saw some shit. A lot of didn't work, but I've saw a lot of markets and bears and bulls. And one thing I am not is a trader. I never really cared that much about where the market is going up or down or focus on that. And I do think that people might have come for the casino, right? I think it's obvious people come for because they want to make money. But if they stay around, it's on us, the builders, the people who are building things, the dreamers, people who have a vision. And if everyone went away when the casino stopped, then that's also our fault, right? And I think, and we should ask ourselves, did we give them a purpose? Did we give everyone who came a dream? Oh no, it's cutting down there, but give them purpose. So I work on ENS, specifically doing public goods on ENS. And why does ENS care about social media and decentralization like this? So ENS became only half accidentally a decentralized profile for apps. If you log in into any Ethereum app, you have your ENS name on the top there. And it's nice because suddenly you don't need to create a new password, you don't need to set up a new profile. Everything is just there. They recognize you. You have your ENS name, your information is there. So we care about the future of social media. And I've done a little experiment back in March in which I just asked around who's building that? Who's building the next Discord or Mayo on crypto? And I've got a lot of interesting answers. And here's what I found out. There's a team doing Outer Mayo. It allows you to message any Ethereum address and create token-gated communities. There's a team called NFT Chat, allows you to message any Ethereum-based address and allow you to create token-gated communities. There's a team called ENS Mail, allows you to send a message to any Ethereum address. And there's a team called Common Ground, allows you to create token-gated communities and message any Ethereum address. There's BlockScan, you've seen that on actually Etherscan, allows you to, guess what, send a message to any Ethereum-based message. There's Try Quiet, a decentralized social media that allows you to send messages. There's Our Spaces, it's a decentralized social media, allows you to send messages to, I think you get the point, right? Everyone, those are just the ones I found. Every one of those is a sort of decentralized social media that allows you to send messages to one another, to anyone with an Ethereum address, and create token-gated communities, right? And I think, and sort of the rest of my talk will be sort of like, why are we doing that? Like, why you're not doing that together? And because those teams are not like small. Those are just the teams I found that had like a website. Or many other builders have told me that, they want to be building that. And what did all of these have in common? They want to build decentralized social networks. Many of them have like solid teams, $1 million fundings, and you probably never heard of them unless you are working on one of them. And they don't talk to each other. And I think that's the crazy thing. If you create, like you can message anyone on Nifty Chat, but you're not going to receive that message if you're using ENS Mail or Hash Chat, which actually I just found out about like in this room like earlier today. So we have like over 30 apps all trying to do the same thing, decentralized messaging, but none of them talk to each other. And I think that's just wrong. Because a data silo, one of the reasons they do that is that is sort of how the old web works. And the data silo is sort of a user mode, right? You want to create a moat, you want to protect your users. But most of our four medieval castles, thriving cities, they don't have moats. They have gates, they have highways, they have train stations where you can come in and out. And what would happen if one of those silos ecosystem like won, if let's say Nifty Chat won, then they would be the new silos because they are not sharing their data anywhere, and they why would they, right? They are the one winning the game, but likely they won't because the silo is Discord, the silo is Twitter. They are not sharing data with us, so why? Right? And it sort of becomes an incentive problem because if everyone is building moats, if you're the only one who's building a bridge, then your competitors will use that to steal your users. But if everyone is building bridges and you're the only one just trying to build a moat, then people will look at that and say, I don't want to use your app. I want to be on the other side, and then they steal your users. So what we want to try is the classic prisoner's dilemma where we want to be here, we want to be where everyone wins, but everyone is building on the direction where it's a winner takes all, where there's a single guy that's going to take over everything until the next guy takes over everything. So how do we solve that problem? And of course, there's a standards problem, because every one of those apps, they are trying to build their own chat standard, and they just hope that everyone adopts their other one, right? And they're like, yeah, I mean, the other ones suck. They should just use mine, and then you have another standard. So how do you solve that problem? How do you make everyone talk together without just creating more and more standards that just proliferate? So I think what we should do is not, what ENS wants to do is not a new standard. What we want to do is a bounty for finding a common minimal denominator, right? You have your app, there are features. You have your app, there are features. But there's something that all of you have in common together. So ENS is offering a prize money for the first 3 social media apps that interoperate messages, meaning I write a message on my app, it can reach your app, or that app, as if it was a native app. So we are starting right now with 60K from multiple sources, and we are looking for prize partners to increase that, and we are looking, of course, for people to apply that and try to figure out what it is. But here's the thing, it doesn't really need to be complicated. It doesn't even need a blockchain. It just needs crypto, but really, it just needs cryptography. It doesn't need a token. All you need is signed messages. And I'm sort of looking at Lens protocol right now because it's a very cool protocol, but it's also super complex. Allows you to mint your NFT, your profile as an NFT where other people can collect and other people can post, which is cool for some apps and what matters for others, right? So I think we can find something that is even simpler that is also on the Lens, right? I'm not saying, again, it's not a new standard, it's just whatever we can. And I think the minimum requirements we should be using is our data must be self-validating. I love this idea of self-validating. It came from Blue Sky, which is a Twitter project trying to do open source social media. If you send me a Twitter post, the only way that I can check if it's a real Twitter post, I have to see if it's on the twitter.com website. If it's not real. If you send me an Ethereum transaction, I don't need to check the Ethereum Foundation website. I don't need to check Etherscan. I can check on the transaction itself if it's a valid transaction or not, right? So it means that text content should be signed. If it's image content, then you just take the hash, sign the hash. So I have this image, I can check if the hash matches, right? And all data should be queryable, right? We cannot win this by having everyone have different silos where I have my own messages, you have your own messages, and etc. What we need is that everyone has a feed of messages that they own that not necessarily belong to them. If you that probably does remind you, if you've been around a while, that will probably remind you of the blog era, where everyone had their website and then they had a feed, and public open feed where you can catch content. The difference here is, and that's why self-validating data is so important. If your RSS on your feed, on your blog, you can only put content that you offer on your blog because that data is not self-validated. But if you sign messages, then Alice over there can share their posts with Bob, and Bob can collect from Alice and then from Brian, and then he will have on his blog a feed for messages from other people, which can share with Adam, that will give that to, I don't know, Amanda, and then that she will be collecting on her feed a bunch of messages that are signed that they know that came from these people, and she doesn't need to be checking all those feeds. Maybe she just needs to check 2 sources. And maybe like that pink guy over there is just receiving a bot, and he's the one working as a filter, right? So those are the 2 minimum requirements. Get the data to be signed, so everything is self-validated, and all data must be openly queryable in some sort of feed. It could be as simple as an RSS feed of signed messages. Things that are not even in the scope. There's no obligation to use any specific blockchain. There's no need to use P2P, BitTorrent, IPFS, or having a key managed. That depends on your app, right? Now, even like which content you keep, which content do you filter, that's up to each app. What we only want is just to have all those social media apps talk to each other and have like a queryable like a feed of signed messages. So here's how to profit if you are building a decentralized social media app that allows you to connect to any other Ethereum address and to create a token-gated communities. Just get 2 other apps, talk to them, share data, and you split the price. Easy money, right? And social media is not one website. We think about social media, we think about Twitter and Facebook and etc. It's our lives. It's where most of our friends are. It's where people like get married. They find part of life partners. They gather. They create like their content is there. Like that's our life. It cannot be decided by a couple people living in that circle, right? Almost everything about our lives, like even like design decisions on how does something looks or doesn't look, is basically decided by someone living like, and working inside that red circle. And I grew up also I grew up on history books, on very serious history books, and that's how you learn that Paris used to be Lutetia, an old Roman town. But Paris is still around. Like the Roman Empire is gone, and then like, how many empires have gone through what we call now is France, right? And I think communities need to outlive the empires that founded them. This is so important. Often on the internet, we've seen that where you create, there is a community that is created by a corporation. That corporation goes bankrupt, so does the community. Everyone dies with it. Can you imagine what would happen with cities if when the empire like fell, and then the Roman Empire, and then like how many revolutions, but the cities stay there because the tech here is all open source. And that's how we get cities to live for 1,000 years, and that's how we are gonna get our social media and our digital cities to live for thousands of years. So you wanna help the prize, you wanna apply for the bounty, contact me at this Twitter and this address. And also, like one last thing, on ENS, we just launched also at ensgrants.xyz, where you can apply for a quick self-serving grant of 1 Ether for each project. So that's it. Thank you for coming for my talk. I think we have time for questions.
Yeah, do you have any questions? No? So, okay, so thank you very much.
I'll be outside.